I'm making this video because Buddy died. Buddy is a was a dog, one of my daughters and son-in-law's much loved dog, and it it reminded me of two things I wanted to share. One is a poem that I wrote 20 years ago that I'm going to read in a moment. But before I do that, I love to tell the story about I happened to be in Boston near at the Harvard bookstore, and one of my favorite writers, the poet Mark Doty, had just published a book about dogs, and it was about how his dogs uh, helped him and his partner get through a period of time when the partner was dying of HIV. And so it was a great thing to be able to do. And hear him read from the book. It's called Dog Years, which I, by the way, highly recommend. And during the question and answer period, a man in the audience said something like this. He says, "Here's what I don't get about you dog people." He says, "You get a dog and you love the dog and the dog loves you and the dog becomes part of your family and um, you develop this attachment. And then, after a few years, 10 or 12 or 14, the dog dies." And he said, "You go through this grief process, which nobody should minimize, it's true grief." And he said, "You go through this grief process, and then what do you do when you start to recover from the grief? What do? You get another dog," right? And everybody in the audience kind of chuckled. But Mark Doty did not chuckle, the author, Mark Doty. He took the question very seriously. And he said something I'll never forget. He said, "The agreement to participate in this life is a pact with grief." And I'll never forget it. So 20 years ago, I wrote a poem called "The Woods Unbounded," and it got published in the Dead Mule School of Southern Literature online. And I wrote this on the occasion of having a dear friend of mine have their dog die. And so just a preliminary remark, I grew up in Arkansas, and on a few occasions, my father and I went out on these excursions in the middle of the night, where you let the dogs loose in the woods and they run around, and I guess they're chasing various kinds of animals and so forth. We used to call it a fox hunt, and for the I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not sure what those dogs did if they found the fox, but I have a feeling it wouldn't be pleasant. But anyway. So anyway, thanks. So this poem is called "The Woods Unbounded." Late at night, you park your pickup on a dirt road deep into old man Caldwell's land, and you let the dogs out to run in the woods and chase the scent of foxes for miles and miles, while you sit on the tailgate and drink coffee from a thermos and talk to your father in the night chill. Your only role in this hunt is to listen to the dogs bark ecstatically, sweet and faint as an echo so far away. You marvel at how far they go, but always inside some instinctive perimeter so that you can just barely hear them if you were as quiet as the stars themselves. Finally, you blow a homemade bugle made from a hollowed steer horn, and the dogs, hearing the long note, allow their loyalty to overcome their desire to continue the chase. The distant barking stops. You wait until you can hear the dogs running through the brush, and then they burst through the foliage just down the road, returning, as they always do, to you. And so to friends whose much-loved dog has died, I am left to say only, the leash now is off, the cage open, the scents rich, the companions many, the woods unbounded.